Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, Lunar, and welcome back to this early access showcase of Athena Crisis. And if you haven't already seen the last video where I showed off all the units, I'll have a link to that in the description down below. And of course, as always, if you guys want to try out the early access build for yourself, the link to the website is in the description. And of course, I have to ensure that everybody knows that this is an early access build, so the game is basically unfinished. Before I actually delve into what probably might be my favorite feature of this entire game, I do actually want to show off some of the significant changes that the creator made to the game with this latest patch. So starting off, the sniper, flamethrower, and the APU have received their buffs, so now that they're super effective against tanks. Yeah, see that? 35 damage. Gotta admit, that's actually pretty insane. Now for the flamethrower, again, 37 damage. Oh, I'm sorry, that was 37 damage. So yeah, you definitely can't bum rush hostile armor for sure, but at least they're a little bit more effective this time around, which is always great. Now, onto the medic. Just like I mentioned in the previous video, you can heal other units. But this time around, it won't actually cost them a turn whatsoever, so even if you haven't already moved one of your units, you still get a chance to move them around if you much as so desire. And let me see if this actually applies for the supply ship as well, because I have learned that you can indeed heal other units. So it also applies to boats as well. Those are just the small or rather I should say significant changes. We're going to be showing off the level editor. As you can see, I am already here right now, and I've got me a nice open canvas to draw basically whatever I want. And I'm going to be showing off pretty much everything that you can utilize to make your maps look good. So starting off with the obvious, you've got your terrain tiles. Obviously, you've got your grass. You got ruins, which can serve as cover for your units, along with forests that come in two different flavors. And of course, seeing that this inspires from Advance Wars, you gotta have mountains. A whole bunch of mountains. Roads. They're roads. Pretty self-explanatory. A bridge. Actually, I'm gonna build a river to, show this off. So yeah, rivers. Rivers, rivers, rivers. Lots of rivers. And of course, you got a bridge. Trenches. Only accessible by ground units as well as APUs. Construction sites. Kind of the same thing as the ruins, except, well, you can place a unit there to construct the base. Same thing with the docks. You can place one down, just like so. And of course, you have an airport construction site. Very helpful for when you want to build some airports. Yeah, apologies, by the way, if I'm going a little too fast for y'all, but there isn't really a whole lot to this level editor at the moment, but just you wait. There is quite a lot that you can do with it, which, speaking of, water, or ocean if you'd rather. It's water, all for your seacraft. And of course, for water, you gotta have reefs, small islands, and shorelines. Yes. Perfect for your landers. Deep water. Completely inaccessible for some units. Up next, for the trains, railroads. For an objective-based gameplay, whether you have to escort a train, or if you want to use it to dominate your opponents on the field, whatever the case may be, it's a railroad. And yes, it's more or less the same thing as the road, except, well, it's only accessible for trains. Shelter construction site. It's where you build a shelter. And then for this, we've got... Oh. Okay, I think this thing is being a little wacky right now. And... Oh. Oh yeah, I can delete it. Okay, good. But yes, as you just saw, these are cloud tiles. And they're basically here to essentially allow you to spawn electric barriers. I showed that off. I really did show that ability off in the previous video, where the radio station can only spawn electric gates. Although Christoph did mention that he will actually implement new purposes for some of these buildings at some point, he just hasn't been able to do so because he wanted to get the game out in early access as soon as possible. So, in due time, maybe my suggestion will actually fall through, which will be amazing. So that does it for all the terrain tiles. Of course, I already showed off some of the buildings in the previous video, so I don't need to go over those too much. Except for a few things. First of all, we've got barriers. 100% destructible barriers. These can only be attacked by heavy weapons, such as artillery, cannons, tanks, etc., etc. And these things are insanely durable too, by the way. So watch out for that. A crashed plane. Basically the same thing as a gate. It's an obstacle that you can blow up. And of course, there's a dilapidated building. It is true, you cannot access a destroyed house. Which I feel is kind of weird, all things considered, since I feel like it could actually be utilized for cover. So that pretty much does it for all the terrain tiles and the extra buildings you have. Maybe there will be some more added into the game as soon as the release date, but maybe not military buildings, maybe a couple of, maybe some scenery buildings that don't necessarily serve a purpose. Onto the Entities tab. And what exactly this is, well, it allows you to edit the health, supplies, AI behaviors, and whatnot. I have shown this off a little bit in the previous video, but I do want to delve into it a little bit more. So, for the health, it goes up to just 100. And how much damage a unit will do is dependent on how much HP they have. And of course, you gotta have the supplies. Basically, determines how many tiles a unit can move. You got the leader tab, which makes a specific unit a leader. So if you want to make an objective where you have to find and kill a leader, this is here for that. Or if you have to escort a leader and basically protect them, that also works too. But of course, what exactly is a unit editor without AI behaviors? Obviously for the CPU player, but as you can see, there are 5 different behaviors for the AI. There's attack, which, well, obviously they attack you. Defensive, where they play a little more defensively. Stay, which makes the unit completely stationary. Adaptive, which allows them to adapt to certain circumstances. And passive, where they literally just do absolutely nothing at all. And of course, there are the team colors, such as neutral. I'll get into that a little bit late. I'll get into that a little more. And the label flags, which I have shown off a little bit of in the last video, but they're basically here if you have an objective type game mode. And speaking of neutral, not only does this render the unit completely useless, it can also be set to be rescued by a certain player. Unfortunately, though, it can only be rescued by one team and one team only. Which, admittedly... Which, I'm guessing is because it can be rescued by all teams by default. That's probably why it's... That's probably why this is here. But again, it's here for an objective-type game mode. Or a scenario, if you'd rather. Now, before I go on to the crazy stuff involving effects and settings... I gotta go over the decorations. Because, believe me, there's not much to say about this other than it's here to make your maps look all nice and shiny. Yeah, we got a bunch of telephone poles, a couple arches, tombstones, a couple of barrels. All kinds of stuff that you can fool around with to make your maps look all nice and beautiful and very decorative as well. Maybe throw in a power station here. Now for the restrictions. Oh, sorry, no, I meant restrictions. I have already shown this off before, but just to give you the idea here, you can basically just restrict anything, so that way the player cannot build it whatsoever. And like I said before, this does apply for both players as well. So say I want to prevent the player from spawning battleships, hovercraft, and landers. There you go. It'll gray them out just like that. Or how about maybe bombers, X-fighters, seaplanes. Again, grayed out just like that. And the same thing also applies for buildings as well. Like I could restrict that, or this, or even this. Just as an example here. Time to move on to the good stuff. And boy oh boy, this right here is what makes this my favorite level editor in any video game. And, no, sorry. And if you don't know a thing or two about me, I like games with level editors a lot. The idea of being able to fiddle around with the game's assets in ways that even the creators themselves never truly thought to do. So as you can see, you've got yourself a start effect, which, well, it starts off the match with a message if you want to do so. But there's also some other effects, such as whether you win, whether you lose, or if the game ends in a draw. We'll add on to that a little later when we get to conditions. So I'm going to add a message, and I want my character to be... yeah, good old Charlie here. And I can have him literally say anything that I want, like... yeah, something like that. Oh, and I realize I spelled Kristoff wrong, but you get the idea. So yeah, if you have a message set for the start of the match, it'll literally play right off the bat. Hey, subscribe to Kristoff Nazakawa, or Nakazawa. And that's pretty much the same thing as the other conditions for the win, lose, draw, etc., etc. Speaking of conditions, darn it, this dang mouse is always acting up on me. Anyhow, there are a whole slew of conditions that you can actually utilize to make a whole scenario or an objective type game mode for your multiplayer maps. So let's say that I want to have an objective where you defeat a unit by label. What I would have to do is I would have to set it to which player has to fulfill this objective, and then the color labels as listed below. If you want to label it as a secret operation, you can do that too. Maybe to like give players a little bit of intrigue, or have them do a little bit of a replay in order to actually see the other objective. So that way, if you ever have a campaign that has branching pathways, you can basically hide this, and the player won't actually know about it until they discover it. I feel like that would make it insanely rewarding. So obviously, in order for this to work, you gotta make this... You gotta give one of these units a label. So let's give this infantry a label. Now, I know exactly what my objective is. Of course, there are a whole slew of other objectives that you can do, such as capture by label, which is pretty self-explanatory. You capture a building by whatever it's labeled as, or you could capture by amount, which requires you to capture a certain number of buildings in order to win the objective. Defeat by label, which I already demonstrated here. Escort by label, where you have to take your objective to a location while the other player has to find and destroy it. Survival, where you have to survive a certain number of rounds in order to win the objective. Escort by amount, same thing as label, but you can set a certain amount of units to escort to the objective, just like so. And of course, rescue by label, where you have to rescue a unit that's labeled. Yeah, kind of the same thing as most of the other label-based objectives. But yeah, these are all the conditions that you can go really crazy with. And to say the least, it's got quite a bit of depth, even for something as simple as this. And just like with the start condition, you can have your conditions. You can have your win conditions set as an effect. Just like that. Yeah. Marvelous. And you can even have somebody say a message like... Yeah, like that. What'll basically happen is, it will literally play this message specifically for the player. So that way, you'll actually know whether you've succeeded or if you failed the mission. Now for the settings tab. Obviously, you can choose what environment you want, like let's say I want a snow theme or a swamp theme. It switches the tile directly to that to correlate with the theme. But we're going to stick with the snow theme because it looks very pretty. I won't lie. There are two other themes in this game, such as Spaceship and Luna, but they are currently not available as you can see. Even though some of the maps do use at least one of those environments. So maybe it's... So I am going to guarantee at some point they will add the ability to include Luna and Spaceship. Because, yeah... I won't lie, it is insanely weird that they're not here, but again, early access. Teams. Obviously, you're able to set your teams to whatever it is that you want. Like, you could have orange team up with pink, just like that, and have another player on team 2. Perfect if you want to have team-based game modes, or if you want to, like, an entire campaign mission involving two armies teaming together. And of course, you had to have your fundamentals, such as fog, which as you can see, engulfs the entire landscape with fog. Your funds, which you can literally change to whatever your heart to your heart's content. Like, say I want 909,999 credits. I can do that. And watch this. Yep. And of course, you gotta have your fundamentals, such as the map name. I'm gonna call this test just for all intents and purposes. Your tags. Only 4 of them at the moment. And the map size, where you can literally change the size of the map. Just like that. I think the size limit is 40 by 40. Last I checked. And the save map feature obviously allows you to save your map. I don't really need to explain that. And now for the evaluation. Obviously, what happens here is the AI will actually play the map at least 10 whole times. And it will be able to determine how balanced it actually is. So I'm going to start this thing, like, right now, actually. Maybe I'll pick a different map to, like, better test this out. So yeah, obviously pink wins every 10 rounds. But you know what? I'm going to pick out a different map just to better demonstrate this, because this was probably not the best map to do it on. And now we do the evaluation. Yeah, this will admittedly take a little while. So yeah, orange wins at least 6 rounds, and I'm going to assume that either pink won on the other 4 rounds, or they just ended in a draw. But either way, the evaluation system works, and honestly, it really does surprise me a lot that not very many games with level editors have something like this, particularly turn-based strategy games, like Wargroove or Tiny Metal. Yeah, I really feel like a lot of games should have something like this, so that way we don't have to go through the effort of having to test it ourselves. But yeah, it's pretty cool and super convenient too. The evaluate option is an absolute blessing for this game. It will literally make map creation a whole lot easier for a lot of content creators. And lastly but not least, reset map. That just basically, yeah, it resets it to whatever was last saved. And now I'm going to show you the best part of this entire game's level editor, the campaign creator. Of course, at the moment, this campaign I have right here is currently not finished. I still want to work on at least a few more levels and add them in. But yeah, as you can see, this is how it's pretty much set up. You can have them ordered in however you like. You can name them whatever you want. And you can even incorporate win conditions to create branching pathways just like this. And I'm going to be honest, I actually kind of like this way more than the world map, because it does really allow for a lot of creative possibilities. Of course, obviously, there's only the publish tag. And of course, I named it Eclipse Uprising. I know, generic name. And of course, the owner's tag. I think you can add other people's names to this so that they can also edit this as well. Maybe even playtest it too. But as you can see, I'm the only creator of this entire campaign. And like I said, it's not finished yet. So just bear with me on that. And of course, some things that you will see in this campaign are subject to change. So with that said, I'm going to show off one of my campaign missions for all of you guys to enjoy. So, feel free to sit back, relax, and enjoy the playtest.
Commander, glad to see you. We've got a problem. I've received intel about a hostile convoy approaching our border. It seems the insurrection is trying to smuggle troops and illegal weapons into the city center. I've been trying to contact for reinforcements, but they only gave me so much to work with. I hope we'll be able to fend them off nonetheless. Thankfully, our job is simple. Just keep the enemy from pushing through the border, and God forbid we even let one of them through.
Andre! Contacts incoming from the east! We've got multiple wheelers and 2 aircraft approaching!
Jeepers, already? Well, no further time to waste, Commander. We're at your disposal and awaiting orders. Let's crush these rats.
Yeah. God, I gotta get a new mouse. Why this thing keeps acting up, I don't understand. So dumb. So yeah, you got a lot of units to work with here. You got a lot of Rocketeers, a few Jeeps, lots of Riflemen, a couple Jeeps, and a few medics to work with. And of course you got a couple of bases, but you also have limited funds, so in that, you basically have to be wise with what you spend your money on, though you'll probably know what to spend it all on, seeing as this objective involves destroying hostile convoys. Now, I originally wanted it to be so that you'd have to destroy a certain number of enemy vehicles that are labeled, but because of how the destroy by label system even works, I unfortunately was not able to allow it so that you could destroy a certain number of enemies in order to succeed at the objective. So hopefully they'll be able to iron that out at some point. Because I'd really love for my objectives to be a little more, you know what I mean? So there you have it. There's the enemy moving in with the aircraft, tanks, jeeps, all that jazz. So yeah. In other words, how the objectives actually works is that if even one unit that you have to escort gets destroyed, you basically fail the entire objective. I put all my Rocketeers up here. Put them on the front lines, baby. And there we go. They broke through the border. Or destroyed the barrier. Oh boy. Ah, come on. Barely did enough damage. So there you go. That's one Jeep down. Helicopter down. Okay, obviously, we don't want to do that. So we're going to do this. Not very much damage, but at least it kind of helped. And of course, as you see, you have a selection of units to choose from, such as tanks, APUs, Jeeps, Humvees, etc., etc. But like I said, you gotta be very wise with what you spend your money on, because this whole situation is do or die. Ugh. Well, there I go. There goes my Rocketeer. And hey, we took down the helicopter. Cool. Yeah, a little weird that they don't bother trying to destroy the other barrier. Maybe I could have spawned another tank around here, but I don't know. Alright. Oh yeah, my tank. I better move that. So I can take on the enemy tank. And these Rocketeers, they gotta be put up in the front lines too. Oh, I see you're not willing to take on my Rocketeer, huh? What's the matter? Too powerful for you? Alright, and now we can do some serious damage to this one tank here. And we can't move forward. Because the tank is in the way! Ah! Gah! Well, it's fine, though. I mean, this is it's pretty easy, all things considered. Maybe I should remove the other barrier. Maybe make this a little easier for the AI to digest. Goodbye, bad guys. Yeah, I've said it before, but I don't recommend using anti-air against infantry. I mean, it's pretty effective, all things considered, but it can be a waste of ammo, you know? Oh boy! Well, there goes one of my Jeeps. Shoot. Goodbye! Yeah, this objective, I admit, will, take a little while to get through. Also, I feel like maybe Rocketeers should be able to destroy barriers as well. But maybe that would be a little bit OP, considering that, well, the tank is essentially a Rocketeer, but much more powerful. And there I go, I have no funds left. Which means I can't spawn any more units. My Rocketeer! They destroyed my Rocketeer! They destroyed my Humvee! Alright, you're going down, buddy. Kaboom! Ah, nuts. Yeah! Take him down, medic! Yeah, medic is a savior. Our Lord and Savior, medic. Oh boy. And my Rocketeer's all out of ammo. Beautiful. What the heck? Maybe I should have added a repair shop for this as well. Goodbye. And you are going down next. And you, sir, are getting taken down. Just like that. I have so many units on this field. Oh my lord. Maybe I got a little carried away here, didn't I? Oh, how silly of me. But hey, at least I can take down this infantry. Yeah, that really helped. A lot. Goodbye, bad guys. And would you look at that? He's got no ammo left. How beautiful. How absolutely beautiful.
Commander, Andre, that appears to be the last of them. Wowee! We sent them packing. This was surely a good day for us.
That's right, you scumbags! Run! Ringo, status on the caravan.
Oh no! The caravan's been wiped!
What?
Looks like we failed to cross the border, Juno.
Return to Libra base, Ringo. We'll reevaluate our plans.
Commander, I have to thank you for your help. This whole fiasco would have been trouble without you. I'll request for more troops at the border to keep things all peachy. Hopefully, we won't deal with another caravan anytime soon.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You can now move on to the next objective. Or the next mission. So yeah, that's just a small glimpse of the campaign creator. Like I said, this entire campaign isn't finished yet. I want to add in a few more missions so that everybody can play for themselves. But man, I gotta say, I am truly loving what I'm seeing here. This game's campaign creator is gonna be pretty wild. I think it's about the same caliber as Wargroov's campaign creator. But like I said before, it really does have a lot of really creative possibilities, given that you can have branching pathways. And I mean as many branching as many branching pathways. Oh, goodness gracious, what is wrong with me today? As many branching pathways as you want. And the fact that you can have characters talk to each other in dialogue boxes as well really enhances the bigger storytelling right here. And I myself love having story in some of my scenarios, so this will really fill that niche for me. Although, if there is one suggestion that I could make for the campaign creator, or rather, the scenario creator itself, allow the players to have custom names for the characters. Seeing as Wargroove has something like this for its campaign creator, I could see something like that benefiting this game a lot, especially for storytelling reasons. Because you never know, even small changes like that can really have a huge impact on user creation like this. So yeah, that's pretty much part 2 of the Athena Crisis showcase, and yeah, I don't think I have to say this more times than I can count on one hand here. I'm loving this game so far. Really loving this game. Like I said though, This game is in early access. If you want to test it out for yourself, there's a link to the official website in the description. You can get access to the early access build there. And yeah, join the Discord server if you want to support the game as well, throw out your ideas, and maybe Christoph might actually incorporate it in some way. Which, actually, now that I mention it, Christoph did actually mention something about being able to destroy HQs. Ever since I mentioned that you can't destroy them whatsoever, maybe have an option to destroy an HQ. Rest assured though, Christoph here is actually very much open to all kinds of suggestions, even if they are a little far out there. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for watching this showcase of Athena Crisis. If there comes another update, I will show it off yet again, or if I do end up completing my campaign at some point, I'll show that off too. Maybe a small glimpse of it, just like I did here. But with that said and done, ladies and gentlemen, I bid you all adieu, farewell, have yourselves a lovely evening, and until next time, this is Lunar Chris signing out. See you around, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for watching.